Good day. It's Justin again. Today I want to talk about the Gini Coefficient. But first, I want to apologize to exotic dancers everywhere. The last episode, or a couple episodes ago, I was referring to the scene in The Big Short where the exotic dancer was severely overleveraged and claimed to have 5 houses or something like that. And I suppose because she was a dancer, the implication was that she couldn't afford 5 houses, which I don't know anybody, well, I don't know many people who can afford 5 houses. And it's just irresistible to reference that scene in that movie. However, I do think it's insulting to to dancers, because it's like, why couldn't a dancer afford 5 houses? I don't know. So I just feel a little guilty for sort of saying derogatory, and also referring to dancers as strippers is kind of like, well, maybe they are strippers, but maybe they don't care about that the difference between dancer and stripper. But you know what I mean. I just don't think it's fair to generalize them that way. Anyway, I want to talk about the Gini Coefficient. I just read this interesting article from the Asian Development blog. I've never heard of it before, but I was doing some research on the Gini Coefficient, and one of the things I was looking at another site dedicated to the Gini Coefficient, and it showed that in the last 40 years, the Gini has gone from 38 to 41.5 in the United States. Now, if you've been around a while, you know that you've been, if you're my age, you've been hearing your whole life that rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And it's not just a thing that people say. There's plenty of evidence to back that up. And in case you don't remember, or you don't know, Gini coefficient of 0 is extreme equality, where everyone has the exact same amount. No country has that. And a Gini coefficient of 1 would mean that all of the money is in, there's no, all of the money is in one place, like Scrooge McDuck, right? There's no distribution of wealth. So most countries are somewhere in the middle, and the Nordic countries are low, like in the high 20s, and some countries where there's a tremendous disparity in wealth, like South Africa, they're in the 50s or even the low 60s. And by the way, 0 and 1 is a strange way to do it. It should be 0 to 100, because then they put out numbers like, I say 27 or 20, it should be 0.27, or in the United States it would be 0.38 in the late 70s, and now it is 0.415 in 2022. This is when last time it was measured. So that, and the thing is, that can't be right, because the top 1% have gotten so wealthy and have the incomes that are so high, and the top 10% have incomes that are extremely high relative to the bottom 10%. So it can't be right. And I think the obvious thing is that, one, the Gini does not account for wealth. That's huge, right? It only accounts for income. And the other thing is, the Gini doesn't. The Gini is self-reported. People answer surveys about what they make, and they found that lower income people who don't really have anything to lose, they'll tell you what they make, because they hardly make anything anyway. Where and middle class people are somewhere in the middle, I guess. But wealthy people, for one, they don't like to report what they make, because it's so sometimes it's so obscenely large. The number is so obscenely large. And two, they're hiding their wealth. They have every kind of there's every kind of tax shelter or whatever. There's all these vehicles that are used to hide wealth. So it doesn't. They're making tremendous income with it, but they're not reporting it, and it's not on their taxes, and it's just not, it's their business and not ours. And the poor can't hide their income, and the rich can. So it's sort of I think for the purposes that I'm the purposes that I'm interested in, it doesn't really work, because it's wildly distorted. It's just not an accurate measurement of why things are happening. Why am I talking about all this? Because I'm really concerned or curious about why you can have a housing market where the houses are way beyond what people can afford. I mean, that doesn't make sense from the point of view of free market economics. You say, well, how much, most people can't afford a house. Well, that's ridiculous. Houses should be, I mean, there should be something in free market economics that dictate that housing prices have to be somewhere near what people can afford. And when they go way above that, it doesn't make sense. So there's obviously other factors going on here, and I think what is happening are rich investors are buying up houses far beyond what they're actually worth, and I think that's driving up the house prices. No matter what the price of the house is, it seems like there's some investor who will buy it up. It's like, well, yeah, naturally that's going to drive prices up. Now, and it seems also at some point that bubble pops, because all of a sudden all these investors realize, oh my God, we have these properties that we can't sell, and we also can't rent because not at a profit. And then you're like, oh my God, let's how fast can we get out of this market? And then the bubble, then you have a downturn. So I'd like to understand that sort of that phenomena better. Of what is exactly happening in the housing market. I mean, it's the investor's dummy, right? That's probably what you're thinking. Well, I think it is, and there's a lot of evidence to back that up. There's this new one. I think it's on. I've put it on a recent post where they're saying, well, look, in '08 it wasn't the subprime people getting mortgages that they couldn't afford. It was the investors. So there's more and more evidence to suggest that it was the kind of ravenous investment community buying up everything they could find. That happened in '05, '06, and it's happening now. And that's why I think when I suggest it's going to be a housing decline that goes on for years and years, that's where that's coming from, and that's what's coming from all the people that I respect who really seem to know what they're talking about. So that's enough from me. This has been Justin, the Renegade Realtor. I'm going to put that post about the Asian development in the Asian Development blog, is what it's called. I'll put that post below, and I think you should read it. But it's kind of a bummer. So rest in peace, Gini Coefficient, and once again, apologies to those exotic dancers out there. All right, have a good day. This has been Justin, the Renegade Realtor from Coast West Real Estate. Good day.